This is one of the best mob movies ever. Forget about it. Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about another of my favorite mob movies. Okay, look, if The Untouchables is my favorite mob movie that's based in the early 1900s, this one is my favorite mob movie that's based in the late 1900s. Now, I know everybody's got their casinos and their Goodfellas, and look, I love those movies too, but for me, one of my favorites is 1997's Donnie Brasco starring Johnny Depp and Al Pacino. This one is based on a true story. Granted, they take some liberties with the time and a lot of the details and everything, but for what it is a very good undercover cop in the mob movie. If you don't want anything spoiled with this one, I will say this, as you could probably tell, I highly recommend it. It's got great performances. The chemistry between Pacino and Depp is fantastic. Yeah, it's for me, it's one of my all-time favorite mob movies. What this movie is about is Johnny Depp plays an undercover FBI agent, and he is working his way, or at least at the beginning of the movie, he starts to work his way into a mob crime family. And when he is brought in, he's brought in by Al Pacino's character Lefty, who basically vouches for him. And this movie is just Depp's character working his way up the ranks, but also you have you get a look at his home life on how this has affected him. He was only supposed to be in a very short amount of time, but by movie standards, they say he's been in it a couple years. In real life, the whole thing took like 6 years. So imagine how what kind of effect that would have on a marriage and being a father and things like that when you're barely home. You're starting to change. This movie has a lot of Depp's character is changing into one of these mobsters as the movie goes along, and it affects his marriage big time. But yeah, it's about him working his way up the ranks and trying to take down this crime family. First and foremost, the performances in this are almost perfect. I mean, there isn't a character in this that isn't good. There isn't an actor in this that doesn't do a good job. As I said, Al Pacino and Johnny Depp have an amazing chemistry together, and you see them get to know each other over time, and you can see that even though, yes, Johnny Depp's character is this FBI agent, he's really starting to like and care about Al Pacino's character Lefty. At points in the movie, he tries to help him get out of trouble and out of the mob life. Lefty is always owing money to his bosses and everything, and see his character. You have Johnny Depp's character is using him at first because he could tell that this guy is looking to impress, and then of course if Johnny Depp's character can impress, that would make Lefty look good. So he uses him a little bit at first to get in, but you can tell by near the end of the movie that they really care for each other. Despite even when they're having problems, they work it out and everything, and their chemistry is amazing. You have a lot of good supporting cast. Michael Madsen is in this. Bruno Kirby is in this. Just anyone in this. I'm not going to name them all because there's too many people in this that do a fantastic job. There isn't a character in this movie that if I dislike them, I dislike them because the movie wants me to dislike them, not because of their performance. Anne Heche is in this, and I know she gets a lot of hate. For anything I've seen her in, this is my favorite performance from Anne Heche because her and Johnny Depp have great chemistry. Now, granted, you only think they're happy for a very short amount of time in this movie. When we first see him, he comes home and they seem happy for just a second, and then all of a sudden they start bickering. And over time, you see how him being undercover is affecting their marriage. And it even gets to a point where she's like, "You're becoming one of them," and he hits her. And it's just a big moment because you just never thought he would step that far, because she found some money that he was hiding at home. It was like $300,000 or something like that. And he's just like, where's the money? And she's like, you're becoming them. And he pops her, and it's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. And you could just tell that, this was the boiling point where she's just like, I'm done with this. Now, granted, I don't know what happens in real life. I haven't found anything on that. But at the end of this movie, they make it through it. And I'll talk about that here in a minute, because I do want to talk about the end of this movie. So you have this compelling story of this guy he's trying to make all the right moves, trying not to get caught. He almost gets caught a couple of times, and he has to figure out ways to not get caught. He's in an airport, and someone recognizes him and is like, hey, you remember me? We worked on this case or whatever. And he has to attack the guy and say, the guy was trying to, grab him in inappropriate places. And the guy that's working with him is like, he's working, shut up, and then he also gets made, he's at a hotel in one of the parts of the movie. He gets seen by one of the other mobsters, and the other mobster was making a side deal he wasn't supposed to, so they're both just like, crap, we're caught, So there's all sorts of things going on in this movie where he's having to make his way up the ranks, say the right things, do the right things, make the right deals. There's a part where he's trying to cover up that he's wearing a wire in his shoe, and they go into a restaurant where you have to take off your shoes, and he's like, I'm not taking off my shoes. And he ends up making up a story that the Japanese killed his father in the war, and that's why he is an orphan. And it's like, he's like, I'm not going to take off my shoes and respect them. They killed my dad, He has to come up with this stuff on the fly, and it's just really interesting to see him create this stuff when he has to save his own butt, because if he gets caught, he's dead. When it comes to the atmosphere, everything, the movie takes place, I believe it starts in 1978, and it definitely feels like it. It has just the feel of the late 70s to it, and I really dug that as well. I do want to talk about the end of the movie, so again, if you don't want anything spoiled, I highly recommend this one. I mentioned that you see how this operation is tearing him and his wife apart, and it's like, but he's doing this great thing, and the movie even does say they were able to arrest like 200 mobsters, and 100 of them ended up getting jail time, which, he did a good thing, but how does he get rewarded for all this pain and suffering and put his family through all these thoughts that he might die and times he might have been killed? What do? They give him a check for $500 and a medal, and he has to go into witness protection or into a protection program. And it's like, that's it. For this, and granted, in real life, it was 6 years, and this, I guess you could say, was probably like 3, because, again, they said he's been undercover 2 when the movie starts. So it's just like, wow, you got that for all that, and it says something about how our government, and the movie actually talks about this. It's like, Anne Heche has a great scene where she's yelling at Depp's superiors, and she's just like, you've destroyed him, and for what? And of course we find out at the end, it's for $500 and a medal, and you have to go into hiding. But yeah, this is a very interesting movie. There are things they had to take out of real life, because in this movie, he goes from New York to Florida, and they do some dealings there. There was also dealings in like Wisconsin, and they had to take like all that out of there and everything. But for the most part, from what I understand, not like everything, but a lot of the details in this are pretty accurate, at least according to the stuff I'm finding and according to the book that was written about this. And I haven't read it yet, but a long time ago, when my brother was into this movie and he got me into it, there was a book that came out that was like, the mob is still after Donnie Brasco, and which was a true thing. I don't know if it's still a thing or not, but at the end of this movie, it says there's still a $500,000 bounty on his head. Granted, again, the movie came out in 1997, so who knows if the mob's still after him or not. But, I mean, he does talk publicly and stuff, despite he's supposed to be in hiding. So, but yeah, look, I don't want to say much more about it. I know I talked about the ending, but there's a lot more that goes on. It's an interesting look at how the mob works. Anything that is exposition is interesting exposition. There's a scene where you have the techs that are doing the audio for the FBI. One of them's Paul Giamatti, by the way. And they're asking him, what does forget about it mean? And it's kind of funny listening to Johnny Depp explain, forget about it, you know? And then anytime they're talking about how the, what it means to say you're my friend or our friend and things like that in the mob, what's the difference between being like a known man and a made man. So that stuff's really interesting to listen to them. That's how a lot of the exposition is. It's explaining the inner workings of the mob, and it's really interesting. So, but yeah, this is a fantastic movie. If you've never seen it, definitely check it out. Donnie Brasco, again, is one of, if not my favorite movie based on the latter half of the 1900s. Again, based in the late 70s. But yeah, I love Donnie Brasco. Can't recommend it enough. See you later, and forget about it.